A theme in our lives is definitely having the ability to restore and rebuild certain parts of Fort Worth. It's not something that we set out to do or mapped out to do from the beginning, and I feel like we're kind of addicted to it, of taking something that someone else would view as kind of damaged goods and instead seeing the beauty and the potential in it and bringing it back to life.
I am Jamey Ice.
And I'm Melissa Ice, and we are entrepreneurs and philanthropists here in Fort Worth, Texas.
So I grew up right here in Fort Worth, Texas. I have lived within a 3-mile radius my whole life. I mean, I want to be buried here.
Jamey was selling me on the idea of Fort Worth since our first date.
Day one.
He took me on a 4-part date that he had obviously planned out to take me to all the favorite places that he loved. I started to fall in love with Fort Worth on our first date.
We opened up Brood in the near south side of Fort Worth on a street called Magnolia Avenue. And it was a part of town when I was growing up in high school. It was kind of a sketchy area. You didn't really venture over here. We really wanted to bring some of the things that we had seen in San Francisco and New York and LA and Portland, and some of those kind of cutting edge cultural and food things to our city that didn't exist. Funky drinks and new foods and new styles here in our town, and just kind of shape culture a little bit.
We had lots of great ideas and not a ton restaurant or coffee shop experience. I think out of our team, I was the only one who had been a waitress at a restaurant. During the grand opening, we ran out of food and drinks. We're having to give away things for free. We were all on staff for the first several months, bussing tables,
washing dishes,
doing dishes, hostess stand. We were pretty overwhelmed with what we had started.
We call Brood the locals' living room, and it is that. You see all these old couches and chairs everywhere, and it really has become a spot in our neighborhood where people just come to hang out.
So during that time, as if there wasn't enough going on, I decided that it was perfect timing to also launch my nonprofit that I've been dreaming about doing for several years. So there's kind of a theme in Jamey and I's lives that Brood is centered around relationships, and the Net, our nonprofit, is a development organization. We're based here in Fort Worth, and we serve 3 different populations: the homeless, women and girls who have been sexually exploited, and low-income kids through an after-school program. We started going to an area of town called Lancaster where a lot of our street friends were living outside. We just sat down, learned people's stories, and a lot of them were just sharing that they were suffering from isolation. So the event that we started back then was called Bingo and Bagels, where we play bingo and we eat bagels together and drink coffee and we sit down. Something we like to say is that at the Net, we as volunteers don't serve meals to our friends, but instead we all share a meal like a family.
So you see people that don't have families and don't necessarily have friends that would catch them when they fall, and now they have friends. Like, their whole demeanor changes. You give them dignity, you give them respect, you give them hope, and I think that's when you see real change. So when Brood opened, we actually bought a house 2 streets over to renovate and move in so we could be all in this neighborhood. And I was like, I'm gonna tackle my next big remodel around the same time as opening a restaurant.
And starting a nonprofit.
It was a little stressful. When we first got married, we bought this little house from the 70s. It was yellow tile, yellow countertops, brown shag carpet, and started calling contractors to come out and get bids, and it was so expensive. But I think I can do this myself. We had a street friend who was homeless, who used to be a contractor, who came over to our house every single day and taught me how to do all that. And I loved it. I loved working with my hands and creating. So I approached my best friend from high school. I was like, man, we should buy a house together as an investment. There was this great little property that was right down the street. There was a foreclosure. I knew we could transform this house and we could sell it for a profit. And we bought that house and we totally remodeled it, brought it back to life, and sold it in 90 days. We were hooked after that. That was in 2014, and since then we have now done 31 houses in our neighborhood. And in the 80s and 90s, this was a really, really bad part of town. There was drugs, there was gangs, there was violence. Since we've been here in 2012, the neighborhood has completely changed. And you just see all these families. You drive down the street today and you'll see kids outside, you'll see people riding their bikes. And I just love, seeing something that was neglected and kind of left for dead and rotting and falling apart and restoring that.
We kept eyeing this house that was actually on the same street as our best friends who Jamey started 6th Avenue Homes with. It was abandoned at the time, and we would go inside beyond the trash and the raccoon poop, and we just saw the bones of what it could be, and we fell in love with that house. But we thought, oh, it's a pipe dream.
It went up for auction at the Tarrant County Courthouse steps. I was the only person that bid on the house because it was so scary and neglected. And the auctioneer said the price, and I said $1 more, and sold.
So we originally decided to move into the Fairmount area, and we actually had a lot of friends asking us, is that the kind of place you would want to raise your children? We just knew that something exciting would come from being a part of restoring this part of town, and so we took the risk and we did it anyway. And it's funny now because a lot of those same friends, I think, are wanting to move in, who are texting us, hey, I saw the house you posted on Instagram, how much is it?
And I feel like we're just getting started. As a family, we have so many more things we want to do, businesses we want to launch, things we want to restore, some new ventures we're about to enter into. We are buying and restoring this 18,000 square foot warehouse, which is the craziest and riskiest thing we have ever done. We really want to be some of the pioneers that help bring in some retail and make that part of town, this neglected old warehouse, a destination where you can spend an entire Saturday shopping and eating and drinking and hanging out. It's fun. We're not gonna stop until they make us.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
I think it's just a neat thing to know that we have shaped our neighborhood and our community. And with our daughter, I'm so excited for her to grow up here and know that we helped change this, that we're continuing to change it, that we didn't just go move into the safest part of town. We moved into an area and said we're going to be a part of making it the best part of town.